Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2 of Before and After. And as you can see above my head, beach. But maybe more specifically, as you can see if I show you out there. Oh, that's my finger. Beach. Beach looks a lot better than my finger. So, here in episode 2 of Before and After, the first episode did well. People seem to like it. And I know not everybody has seen Endgame yet, so I think that video will continue to do well. Tonight is the final episode of final season of Game of Thrones, episode 3. Do not know the title of the episode yet. Everybody's referring to it as The Battle for Winterfell. I don't think that'll be the title. And it is on in 1 hour from right now. And we're going to have to watch it on the beach. And we're not sure how. We may be watching it on this iPad. We may be watching it on our phone. I don't know, but we're going to watch it. If we have to go to a hotel room that has HBO and watch it there, we're going to watch it. So we wanted to do before and after this one. I think we can do a little more structured. So for the before part, since we're talking about one specific, basically a scene, let's do this. We're going to talk about 5 people, and we don't have to talk long, that we think will die tonight.
Okay. 5
people that we think are safe tonight.
Okay.
What will the outcome of the battle be? And what's one thing you think has a chance to happen tonight that will be unexpected? Doesn't have to necessarily be shocking, but somewhat unexpected from what the masses think will happen.
Oh, okay.
So you go first. Who are 5 people you think are probably going to die tonight?
I think that Brienne is going to die. I say these people. I am not happy about this.
So I agree with Brienne. We'll do it that way. That's one.
Yeah, I think Brienne's going to die, sadly. I think...
She had a wonderful episode last week.
She did. Oh, unbelievable. I think Theon's going to die. I think it could go either way, but I do think he's going to die.
I think if I have to pick 5, Theon is... I agree.
Which will also break my heart. I think... I'm going to go with Tormund. I hope not, though. But I think it could... I don't know. I hope not. I'm listing like people I love right now. But I do think it's a possibility he's going to die.
Tormund might be on my list. I'm not sure.
He may also be on my, I'm pretty sure about Brienne. That's probably my most sure of the ones I'm listing.
So my next sure thing is Grey Worm. Grey Worm is dying.
Yes.
He's the most dying one.
Yes, I agree with that. And one more.
My next sure thing death is Jorah. I think Jorah dies tonight.
I can't even fathom that right now. But yes.
And then if I had to pick a 5th, it's probably Tormund, though I feel like that's a death that doesn't necessarily have to happen.
Yeah.
I would say Bran, other than I don't know
He's
that...
He's kind of already dead.
Bran... Yeah, is that a death?
Yeah.
I don't think there is no more Bran or Three-Eyed Raven tonight. There's something with him continue, so that's he's kind of in his own little category.
Yeah.
So I would say Tormund, Jorah, Grey Worm, Theon, and Brienne.
Yeah.
Are the characters I would pick. That's 5.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. The 5 characters I think are the safest. Sansa I think is the very most safe. Arya is safe. For the reasons I just said that made him, I think I'm going to die, but not. I think Bran ultimately is safe as his entity right now. I don't think he's all the way dead. I don't think he becomes the Night King. I don't think he's a ghost. He's alive, still helping the good guys, is what I mean by sure thing. I think Jaime Lannister is definitely alive at the end of this episode. And I think Jon Snow is the next safest.
Yeah.
I think Daenerys is relatively safe as well.
Yeah.
If we were going to consider beasts, I would take Tormund off my list and Ghost. Ghost will die tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
So what about safest characters for you?
I agree with Sansa and Arya. I think they're both safe. They can't die. I can't take it. And I don't think their stories are over. I think there's more to see, especially
Right.
Arya. She's only just reunited with her family and just...
In that vein, I would say the Hound is relatively safe, too.
Yes,
we have stories that still have to happen with one of Jaime and Tyrion. Tyrion is... that's not going to be my thing that would shock, but Tyrion I don't think is as safe as some people may believe.
Yeah.
But Hound definitely has story to tell. Arya definitely has story to tell.
Yes.
Jamie definitely has story to tell.
Yes.
They can't be done.
Yes, I agree. So Sansa, Arya. I would say Jon. To me, Jon's safer than Dany.
Yeah, Jon and Dany are almost one character right now.
Yeah.
One of them has to remain.
Yeah.
But do both of them?
I don't know.
That's the question.
I don't think they're going to kill Dany either, so I'm going to say Jon and Dany.
I would not be alright if they killed Daenerys.
No. This might just be a before and not an after if that happens.
Yeah,
the after is just
the
him
iPad
weeping.
gets thrown in the ocean. There's footage never to be found.
Oh, goodness. And then Jamie, because he's not going to die. There's no way. He may actually be
So you said Jon, Arya, Sansa, Jamie. Who was your
Dany.
fifth? Dany.
There's no way. Jamie, I think, is the safest because, I mean, that would be shocking if he's not. But to me, he's the safest. There has to be resolution with Cersei.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to go into too far spoilers, but things that have to have resolution are Jamie with Cersei or Tyrion with Cersei.
Yeah.
The Hound in the Mountain.
Yes.
And Arya's list. Those are humongous, show-long plot threads that have to have resolution. It's not just they die.
Yeah.
There has to be resolution there. So, all right. So for you, who wins, or what is where are we at the end of this episode, so to speak?
I think the Night King wins, or his army wins, whether he's with them or not. I think that the dead win, and the living have to retreat. Whether they go to the Iron Islands or where they go, I think they have to.
I would agree. They are not defeating the Night King tonight. The army of the dead. They're not doing that. They are going to have to retreat in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Whether that's on Dragonback to the Iron Islands, which you've got Chekhov's Iron Islands, or Chekhov's the zombies can't swim right now. So somebody's retreating to an island.
Yeah.
They could go to Dragonstone, which is where they were before, where Daenerys lands in Westeros. But the Iron Islands is where Yar is. It's where reinforcements are.
Yeah, they
That's
have
where
allies.
troops.
Yeah.
So that seems likely. But at the same time, we could have Yara sail somehow to get... I mean, they've sailed to Winterfell from Dragonstone. So there's a way to sail there.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's going to be a retreat. What I don't know, I don't necessarily have an opinion, is this mass destruction where of the armies at Winterfell, all that's left is like 10 people.
Right.
And like all the unnamed characters, all of the Dothraki, all of the Unsullied, all of the various other people in Winterfell, all die, including people like Ed, who we haven't talked about. He's dying. Lyanna Mormont, Gilly, Davos. These are characters we haven't talked about. Probably all dead.
Yeah.
I think Davos maybe not. Melisandre we haven't seen. So it's a completely different category.
I'm not okay with Lyanna Mormont dying.
She's going to ride a horse and it's going to be bad. Or do they get away? So we have two kind of things we know. And one thing is that Theon, as they went out of their way, and George Martin originally, went out of his way, that when Theon sacked Winterfell easily, remember the whole story is how easily he conquered Winterfell with a handful of soldiers. It's because he knew how to get in through the crypts and get out through the crypts that people didn't know. He knows a secret way out of the crypts. We have to talk a little bit about the crypts, which are doomsday. Right. And somebody just had a safety on the road. And they keep putting people in the crypts, saying it's the safest place. It's the safest place.
Down there, yeah.
The Night King raises the dead. That's what he does. And they're putting him where all the dead people are.
Yeah.
So is there a chance we're going to see, dead Ned Stark
surely,
rise up?
So
surely not.
Sure, people have been talking about this a lot online with the speculation and everything. And, surely somebody in the camp would be like, why are we putting... So I wonder if they know everybody down there is dust.
They burned them already. Yeah, maybe they had ceremonial burnings.
Yeah, I don't know.
But even still, the put everybody in the innermost place, the tornado shelter.
Yeah.
Doesn't ever seem to work out.
No.
So there's troubling.
That makes you wonder though if maybe Theon's not going to die because maybe he's going to need to be alive to lead.
Correct. So that's. It wouldn't surprise me if Theon stays alive for that reason.
Please?
He's the one that knows how to get them out. Yeah. And that would give credence to they don't get decimated. They can get away. They retreat on foot with more of the army has to go through the crypts, or at least more of the population.
Right.
So I think there is a chance Theon survives, but I think he's dead. So then we agree on what the ending will be. So what would be a thing that you think could happen that would be relatively shocking or surprising, or that isn't a widespread? It may be being talked about online. That's different. It's not what the writers are giving you a reason to believe is about to happen.
I guess, like, this is kind of something I hope we get to see, too. And there is some speculation about it online. Nymeria and her wolf friends showing up. So it's not just the direwolves, but it's whoever she's, like, her wolf pack. If they show up to help join in.
With Ghost.
Yeah, with Ghost, or separate from Ghost, or however.
That would be cool. Like the Eagles
Yeah.
in Lord of the Rings, where they'd show up and help in fights. That would be cool. I mean, they had Nymeria there for a reason a couple seasons ago.
Yeah.
I would like that. I am somewhat a subscriber, and I've been talking about this for a couple weeks, that the Night King is not actually going to be in this fight.
Yeah.
That he is flying Viserion to King's Landing, and he is going to go sack King's Landing himself on Dragonback. He's not going to kill Cersei. There is 0% chance of that happening. I don't think he goes and sits on the throne, because I don't think he cares about the throne.
Yeah.
I think he just goes and destroys it, and they also have to retreat to the Iron Islands because they have Euron and they have the rest of the Iron Fleet with them, so they can get on the boats and leave. Even though conceptually the dragon could just chase them there. I don't know that that's what's going to happen. I think there's plot issues with that, just because the Mountain and Cersei have to somehow connect back with Hound, Jaime, Tyrion. And that could happen to the Iron Islands. That could be how they all unify for the final 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And then you have a conflict on the Iron Islands, and then whoever's left decides to march.
Yeah.
Or maybe he splits his army, and he has this full army with half of his army, and they're fighting the Golden Company. We've got the Golden Company down there that we don't know what they're there for.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I think there's a chance that that's what's going to happen. In terms of, let's just throw one more in there, a shock factor. I think a thing that would be shocking, that would break Twitter, that could happen, is Daenerys dying.
Yeah.
I think that's a shock factor thing that could happen tonight.
Yeah.
Another one would be Tyrion.
Yeah.
Tyrion more likely than Daenerys.
Yeah, it's more likely to actually happen.
Because he's been making mistakes, and then Jorah tells Dany she should still believe in him, and he gets she makes him feel good, and that could be the end. I don't know. I've always felt like Tyrion will have some type of heroic, actual physical moment, but he's not had a good run of it for a couple seasons.
No.
So, all right. Anything else you want to add for the before?
I am not ready. That's it.
If you've seen Endgame, we're not going to talk about spoil Endgame. And after this, when we come back, will be full spoilers for the Game of Thrones episode. We won't talk about in-game spoilers, but I think we both feel this is going to be significantly, deeply more emotional and experienced than in-game was for us.
I've been like thinking about it all day and like not worried, but like I don't know.
Once
feeling
we
a
saw
little on
Endgame on Thursday, I was in my mind. I went, all right, cool. Like I know what's going to happen there.
Right.
Satisfactory ending. You know, it had some plot holes and stuff, but I feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, now I got to get back into Game of Thrones for the next 4 weeks. Like that's just the way it is. It's just you're so much more. We are so much more attached to these characters, and just the nature of the story is like I know Avengers is called Endgame. This is actual Endgame.
Right.
Like there is not going to be someone else takes up the mantle of Jon Snow. Like that's not what happens.
Right.
So
let me give you my shield.
This is the end.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll talk to you when we're done watching it. Hopefully, we're not a wreck. But
just weeping in the corner.
It's likely. I guess the single most shocking thing that could happen to me as our final words is they just kill all of them. They kill the Night King and the White Walker. Oh, that's resolved.
Yeah.
Now let's go take care of Cersei.
Yeah.
There's a 0% chance of that happening.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you in a little bit. Spoilers coming soon now. Rub it, say squeeze it.
Squeeze it.
And it's after. We're not on the porch because it's
pitch black.
Midnight.
Yeah.
It is actually a little bit over an hour since the episode ended. We needed some composure time, and we watched the after show on The Ringer on Twitter, which was good. Talk the Thrones?
Talk the Thrones, yeah.
You have to watch it on Twitter, but it's good. So we'll just start off, because I think the very last thing I said was the most stunning thing would be if they killed the Night King and defeated the army, which is exactly what happened.
Yep.
And I am shocked by that. So we don't want to talk too terribly long, because you all have watched the episode if you've gotten this far too. So just very general synopsis. The humans attack first. They send the Dothraki out. The Dothraki last not long. Then the dead come. We don't see any White Walkers or Night King for a long time. So it's just a lot of fighting with various, just against the Whites, various things. And our first death of a named character is Ed from the Night's Watch, which is sad. And he died in a not great way, because Sam couldn't get up off the ground. He died kind of saving Sam. I don't like that necessarily, just because, he was picking on Sam. Sam, why don't you be in the crypts? Why don't you be in the battlefield? You're not strong enough. And then that is what actually happened, and it caused him to die. But it'll probably be a motivating factor for Sam later. So Ed was not on either of our lists, even though I think we said he's definitely going to die. He just wasn't one of the big characters.
One of the ones we were thinking about.
And so then we get to this part where the Whites are basically winning, and all the humans are trying to get inside Winterfell's gates so that they can light the boat on fire. And that scene was really good, because everybody's retreating except for the Unsullied, who are defending. And in fact, there's the scene where Grey Worm commands them to defend the retreat, which is... I don't believe I have ever heard that term or seen that term, where a flank of an army moves into position to defend everyone else retreating, which is a true knowing sacrifice, because you have no one helping you anymore. I will say the beginning scene with the Dothraki that we didn't talk about, where Melisandre shows up and she lights their rocks on fire, their swords on fire, it's awesome. And them charging into battle with Ghost, with Jorah, charging into battle, and then you just see the flames extinguish as they get destroyed. And like 3 or 4 of them come back. Jorah comes back. We don't know what happened to Ghost. We don't see him again in this episode. It seems like he was in the trailer, so maybe he's alive. But that was a really cool scene. There's a ton of amazing visuals that we're not going to talk about all of this, but the dragon fights were amazing. A lot of the contrast of the ice and the fire were amazing. But then we get to kind of the first, you really start to get to the big moments where you think the Unsullied are all going to die. A lot of them die. Grey Worm is going to die, but they don't. But Dany, because there's like this hurricane of ice, she can't see. They're up on their dragons, and they can't. The plot line was she saw the Dothraki die, and it troubled her so much that she wanted to come help. So she can't see to set the thing on fire. So you think, okay, somehow somebody's going to die in a sacrificial way. But Melisandre actually comes and sets it on fire. And ultimately, everybody left, named characters, gets inside the wall. They get protected. So that's kind of your first stopping point. What would your thoughts on like that kind of first third of the show, of the episode?
It was good, and especially visually. That very beginning part where you saw everybody watching from the different perspectives to see the lights be extinguished. So that was really, really cool, because you saw everyone kind of slowly realize, oh no.
Right. It's cool in that it just looked cool, but it's also cool in the way it told the story.
Yeah.
There was a great deal of stories told in this episode with no words.
Well,
a great deal.
And a lot of it, I think, in the beginning mirrored what you as the audience felt. And so to me, like in the very beginning with Sam...
They did the tracking shots at the very beginning.
And with it being Sam and him shaking and everything, it's like, well, that's how I feel watching this episode.
Yeah, because you start with Sam and then Tyrion.
Yeah.
And it was a tracking shot that followed them.
Yes, and it really gave the feel of how it was. And so then for kind of you as the audience to learn what was happening with the Dothraki the same time as Dany and Jon did, and in the same way, it's very interesting. And I thought it was well done. Yeah,
because they give you hope where Melisandre shows up and lights their swords on fire, and then it's just...
it's extinguished.
quickly
And the
gone.
Dothraki, these
They're
fearsome,
gone.
yeah.
All the time we spent with the Dothraki and the Dothraki hordes and seeing them just...
Yeah, they terrify everyone, and then they are no more.
You think about that scene where Dario leads the Dothraki charge. I mean, they just destroy everything, and that's how powerful that the hordes are. There was certainly this feeling of the hordes being like the herd of walkers in Walking Dead, where we see in Walking Dead, like, no matter what, they do not take on a herd. Like, they spend all of their time to redirect herds, to not the whole thing with... I don't want to spoil things, but the things that happen this season with the bridge or to avoid the herds, and you see what a herd of undead can do. They just ran over people. Like, you just couldn't stop them. It was pretty terrifying. So everybody's inside the wall. The moat is on fire, and then finally we see the Night King. I guess that's where Bran sends the ravens. We get Bran. He wargs into a raven. He sees the Night King, and the Night King tells them, just go sacrifice themselves and make a bridge where they're already dead anyway, and he can raise them. So I guess it's not really a sacrifice, but they make a bridge. They climb over, and we get in kind of the second phase of the fight, which is now inside, or on the walls, and then inside of the walls of Winterfell. And through that, we get to our next major death. I believe, which would be Lyanna Mormont, who had, in my opinion, an epic death, but was very sad. It was a very sad death, and where she is already just beaten to crap, and stands up and charges at the giant.
Yeah, just like screaming.
Just charges at him. The giant picks him up and is crushing her, and she stabs in the eye and kills it as she dies.
She is not all talk.
No, very fitting.
Yeah.
For that character. I mean, for a character that probably only has 30, 35 minutes of screen time total, if that, maybe 20. Yeah. You could put all that together and you'd be like, oh, well, that's an awesome character. Yeah. Like, in a very small period of time.
Yeah, she did a great job, and that actress did such a great job.
Yeah. It's interesting to go back and read about the actress where, like, she had never seen Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
her parents kept her away from
let
it.
her watch it. Yeah.
She's only seen the scenes that she's in. Yeah. Hopefully they let her see that, because that was tremendous.
That was incredible.
And I don't know what that looks like when she's filming it, because it's a bunch of CG. But I hope she gets to see what that looks like, because it was awesome. So definitely hats off to her. And that was, when that happened, even though I think I said I was pretty positive she would die, the way she died made you go, oh no. Yeah. Like, this could be worse. I mean, at least I, for the rest of the episode, was like, I'm not sure anyone could die like this. I mean, they took a child and crushed the child.
I was a little like, ooh. But the reason they showed that is because they wanted to show that she took him down too. Yeah. So it was like, I don't know that they need to put that on TV, but it made sense more when you saw the end of it.
Right. So, so at some point during that time, Arya gives Sansa a dragonglass dagger, tells her to go to crypts and hide. The crypts.
I did like it that Sansa at first said she didn't want to
leave her people.
I like that.
And some of this may be a little out of order. I'm just trying to remember it. Mm-hmm. Then we get an unbelievable scene of Arya just doing absolute work with her staff that Gendry made her.
Yes.
I mean, just... She probably killed 25.
Yeah. She's like all alone. And then there's that moment where Davos is just like looking at her like...
Davos is like, oh, well, all right. I think it's in that time when Lyanna died. So we get the part where when the fire comes up, we remember Hound is scared of fire. And we've also seen Hound every once in a while be scared. And remember, you get this whole plot line with Hound where he goes and he's like not violent anymore, and he's with the peace group.
Yes, that's right.
And he won't fight, and he's like hiding. And Beric is like desperate for help, trying to fight. He's like, Hound! Yeah. Clegane, come! I mean, look at this!
Yeah,
what are you hiding in the corner? How's that going to help us? And he says, we're all going to die anyway. Why fight it? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And he points to Arya and says, look at her fighting it. And that snaps Hound out of it, which was great. So we're not going to talk a lot about them, but you've got like Jamie, Brienne, Podrick, Gendry, I think.
Yeah.
Davos, Tormund.
Mm-hmm.
They're just randomly fighting walkers.
Yes, it's just fight,
whites.
fight.
Fight. Various stages of getting pinned down, and then somebody comes
Each
to
other
save the other.
helping,
They've
yeah.
all helped each other.
Yeah.
They did not have a story through line the way these other characters did.
Right.
There was it was a very frenetic paced episode,
Mm-hmm.
but they did a wonderful job of keeping you on the through line that was going to be important.
Yes.
As the story progressed. At this time, the only time we've seen Theon and Bran is when Bran wargs. Nothing's happening there yet.
Mm-hmm.
The same is kind of true for the dragons. Like Jon
Mm-hmm.
and Dany are up in the dragons. They're burning things. They're looking for the Night King, but that's all they're doing right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's not story based.
Right.
It's just action. So we're not going to talk a lot about that. He didn't look brilliant. Again, the dragon stuff was really good.
And with
the balance
weather.
of the fire versus the ice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. So, Arya's getting taken down. She has to go hide, or she's running away.
Mm-hmm.
And we get this scene that's like Alien or like Jurassic Park with the raptors, where there's so many, 20, 30 whites in a room, and she can't fight them all. She knows she'll die.
Right.
She tries to fight them all. So that, what did you think about that scene? It's a very horror scene.
Yeah, very suspenseful. I thought it was good. I didn't think she was gonna die there or anything. Like I was just waiting for like the Hound or for someone to come help her.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, and I thought that the way they shot it and everything with her looking around and slowly kind of.
I never thought she was
going
to die there, but because of the Mormont thing, you were just going, why are we here?
Right.
Why is it like this?
Right.
Why have we slowed this battle down?
Right, to focus
immensely
so much on this
on
moment.
a stealth area.
Yeah.
And I think, as we'll talk about as the thing progresses, you got to see all the elements of Arya's training come back into play, which was important. Because if you remember, there was times in the Arya training season where you're like, what are we doing? Like, why are we spending so much time with all of this stuff with the Faceless Men?
Right.
Like, it kind of felt like it dragged on at times.
Right.
And in this, she's already very beaten up.
Right. Yes.
She's bleeding.
Yes. She looked awful.
But if you remember, I mean, that's the way she did most of her stuff in her training.
That's
Was
true.
the way they would just beat the fool out of her.
That's true, and maybe that scene part of it was to show you how stealthy she can be.
Right.
For future things.
For
that were gonna
other
happen.
reasons. Yeah. Because none of this was she doing with her faces.
Right.
It was her doing it.
Yes.
Which is of interest. So she gets away. We're gonna go a little bit out of order. So Hound comes to help her and Beric, and then we get the next big death, which is Beric dying, and another pretty sad death. For a character that, like, depending on what side of the show you like, you may not care that much about, plays a very important role because he was on Arya's list. He did stuff with Thoros and Melisandre and the Lord of Lights, and he's a lot of stuff with Hound, and he's around a lot of important things. I think they find Hound, maybe. Isn't that how they get Hound out of that peace camp thing? Like, he gets picked back up by that group,
I
the
don't
Brotherhood.
remember.
But he gets to a point where he's like barricading himself to keep the whites away to save Arya and Hound, which was very good. And then he dies. They meet up with Melisandre, and several big callbacks to other things. But for the first time Melisandre and Arya met, Melisandre said, I see a darkness in you. I see you're going to kill many people, and I see you're going to kill Blue Eyes, is one of the statements in there. And then a wonderful, wonderful callback to, what do we say, to death, not today.
Yeah.
Which is what Syrio, her sword master, said right before he died.
Yeah.
When he protected her from Aaron Trant and all these different knights in King's Landing.
Yeah.
So some wonderful, wonderful writing there, callbacks to stuff. But also Beric, a character who, from the religious side of the show, was there to fulfill a mission from the Lord of Lights, protected Arya. Melisandre for the same thing, come back to seek out Arya. and to encourage her. So that obviously becomes important in a minute. So, we get that death, and then we get into the big climax. So the Night King has shown up. Danny and John and the dragons are fighting. Viserion on the dragon. A fantastic scene with the dragons fighting with each other. We think they're both alive.
Yeah.
We know Drogon's alive.
Yeah.
We think that Rhaegal is also alive because of the trailer for the next episode. But it's not story-based. It's just a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Jon gets knocked down because Viserion hurts Rhaegal pretty good. And then Drogon comes to save him. And I thought Drogon had killed Viserion, but I guess he had. And he raises him, is what happens. Because the dragon got raised too, like everybody else.
Oh,
because I think he actually killed Viserion. And Jon is now at the Godswood. The Whites are at the Godswood, and the Ironborn and Theon are firing away with arrows, doing a good job protecting Bran. Bran is still working, and we don't know what. We only saw him fly with the Ravens. They have to come back to that. There has to be something.
Quite some time.
For like 45 minutes of the episode. So something was happening
there, buddy.
I don't think he was just seeing the outcome.
Right.
He was doing something. I don't know what. So we'll jump ahead a little bit. Jon, the Night King, is now in the Godswood. Jon sees the Night King. He's going to start to charge toward him. He gives the "come at me" crow again, and everybody that's dead comes back to life.
Yep.
And at this point, I was not sure that everyone was not going to die.
Yeah.
Like everyone.
Yeah.
Like somehow Danny and Drogon fly away and everybody else is dead.
Yeah.
It was real bad.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully shot.
Yeah.
How they basically were giving a death scene to everyone.
Right.
That's really, I don't know, what were you feeling at that point?
I was wondering, like, are they just going to kill everybody? What in the world? You just had no idea, especially because it had everything going on in the crypts too, with
so
the raising there as well.
To the surprise, I hope to nobody watching this. The dead people in the crypts started coming out to attack the people in the crypts.
Yeah.
Somehow that's hopefully Tyrion's like, well, duh, was the crypts, like somebody need to know.
I mean, I figured at that point it's like they're either gonna defeat, and at that point they were going to defeat the Night King, or everyone was gonna die. Those were kind of the only outcomes. It wasn't like, well, some of them are gonna retreat. Nah.
Yeah, there was
too late.
There was no in between mass death or victory.
Yeah.
And because I never considered for a moment that victory could happen, I was like, well, this is going to be mass death.
Right.
Because a lot of the people I thought would already be dead by that point there.
Right.
So
also
it was actually a surprising little amount of death.
Yeah.
Of the named characters.
Especially some of the people we thought for sure were going to die.
Grey Worm.
Yeah.
Especially. But like we had these little sequences where it looks like Jaime's about to die, and Brienne and Pod, there's like 10,000 against them three.
Right.
And Grey Worm and Tormund, they're all just surrounded.
Yeah.
You get probably the best scene of the episode, and a top 10 scene probably ever in the show history, with Tyrion and Sansa basically getting out their knife and unspoken. You don't know what they're going to say. We watched the after show. I actually also wondered if it was about to be a suicide pact. I thought it was going to be, they were just both going to go die at that stage. They were both going to go fight for the women and children and get overrun. Because if anybody had stepped to try to fight, they were going to get overrun.
Right.
It was beautiful.
It was incredible. And no words. Like, so there were two good Tyrion Sansa scenes in this. The one when they were talking earlier in the episode. And then this one where it was silent. And they were both great. But the one...
They made you laugh in the middle of it. Because, Sansa's like, we'd have never worked out. And Tyrion's like, oh, well, why not? You sure?
Yeah.
They're in the middle surrounded by doom. But what they did a good job in the crypts when they'd go down there is you had no idea what was going on. Just like them. You made them feel like you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, nobody's texted me. Just checking Instagram. Like, what's happening? Which was good. Yeah. I thought.
Yeah. That was great. That was
very
to me actually one of the most emotional scenes of the whole thing, even with the deaths and stuff. I was almost more emotional about that than anything else.
Yeah, I agree. So who have we had die? Ed and Liana and Barrick.
Yes.
All three who I think we said all three would die, but none of them were on our list.
Yeah.
So then we get
I didn't want Leona to die, but you know.
We get to the climactic part. So John is surrounded, and then the Viserion is landed. He's been raised, and now he's like pinned down by Dragonfire. Like he can't do anything. Because the Viserion is there.
And that's after, or is that before?
That's like his whole end of the episode is him dealing with that.
And that's after Danny and Drogon had tried to help John and tried to burn
That's how he
him
gets away. Yeah,
and that's how he gets
Danny
away.
and Drogon burn a bunch of the dead and land. That's right.
And the burning doesn't defeat the Night King.
The burning,
alas.
Yeah, that's yes. So Danny comes to save the day. She burns a bunch of people. She fires right at the Night King with Dracarys. It does nothing. And
yeah, and
then he's going to throw the thing. She has to get away.
Yeah,
because he's going to throw at Drogon. Yeah. And then she comes back again, I think, to save John. I think we're a little out of order.
Yeah, I don't remember.
John's going to die. He's surrounded by a billion people.
Yeah.
And then she lands, and I don't know why she lands.
I think it's more like after that happens, maybe, I don't know. I don't remember why she lands either. Maybe he's just tired. I don't know.
Yeah, but somehow John gets into like a little walled area.
He tells her Bran, and she says go, or something like that.
That's right.
So it's all at the same time.
He's injured and has to get away. She's going to protect Bran, and he like retreats or something. He gets up further away. Not far away, but further away from whatever. And so she's sitting there on Drogon, and like all of a sudden, all the whites start sneaking up from behind and stabbing Drogon. And I was confident Drogon was going to die.
Yeah.
My mom took a picture of us, and I had the surrender cobra. Like I was not in a good place.
No.
I wasn't sure that Dany wasn't going to die at that point.
Yeah.
Either.
Same.
Because it was bad.
It was bad.
And we know Dany she doesn't know how to fight.
Right. She knows how to use a dragon. Yeah.
So that's kind of running concurrent to Theon is fighting off people. I think Theon's the only Ironborn left at this stage, and the Night King's just kind of slowly walking his way. And then all the White Walkers show up, like the Nazgûl show up, and they're all walking toward Bran at the world's slowest pace.
They're not in a rush.
And so it's like, okay, what possibly is going to happen here? And so then we get cut back and forth. Drogon, Dany falls off of Drogon. Drogon has to fly away. He's trying to knock all the things off. And then we kind of forget about him. It looks like Dany's going to die. And Jorah comes to save her. And what should surprise no one that watches Game of Thrones. He has a tremendously emotional, heroic death. Saving Dany. Very, very good scene. The only way that Jorah needed to die was saving Dany.
Also, he didn't just die saving her, but he died looking at her. Yeah. Like when Essie fell and everything, he got to be with her and look at her in his last moments, which was nice. Yeah, and she was not okay. No. She was not okay, which was also good because that relationship has been a very driving force of the show. Yeah. And hard for Jorah to deal with. So that was incredibly emotional. We had both had Jorah on our list. And so then we've got these cuts of like Sam. He's trying to go kill the Dragon Viserion. Not Sam, but John. And he can't approach him because he keeps breathing fire. Yeah. Night King. So Bran unwargs finally. He looks at Theon and he tells Theon, thank you. And he tells him he's a good man. And so you kind of get the end of the Theon redemption arc, which was satisfying for me. Because I like Theon. A lot of people don't, but I like Theon. And Theon charges at Night King, knowing he's going to die. Yeah. At the same time, Jon stands up and he's basically just going to charge the dragon. Yeah. He knows he's going to die. I mean, that's Jon does that again and again and again. Yeah. And Night King takes Theon and basically kills him pretty easily, stabs him,
And I think pretty soon thereafter, almost immediately, we get Arya jump. Night King catches her. She tries to stab him. She drops her Valyrian steel dagger and stabs him in the stomach. Reminiscent of Rey, the way she dropped her lightsaber in Last Jedi. Very similar tactic. And kills the Night King, and all of them die.
Arya just saved everybody.
Saved everybody. And tremendous, shocking.
Yes.
Very reminiscent of Infinity War, which we are now at the end of Endgame weekend. So if you haven't watched Infinity War, sorry, you're about to get spoiled. Where they made you forget about Arya.
Yeah.
Because the scene with her and Melisandre is like 30 minutes before this.
Right.
And you're confident everybody's going to die. And you've forgotten about her.
Yes.
And her showing up is very reminiscent of Thor throwing Stormbreaker at Thanos at the end of Infinity War, except it works.
Right.
And then we just kind of get everybody dies. I think Dany's still emotional. The people in the crypts are okay.
Yeah.
And then you get the final scene is Melisandre walking out on the battlefield. I think that was the final scene. Walking out on the battlefield and Davos looking at her. She takes off her necklace. She becomes the old woman again. Which I still don't know why the heck she becomes the old woman that one time in the bathtub. That was an unnecessary scene. She takes off and then she dies. Which was her prophecy to die on the battlefield. So our deaths were Ed... there was like either a Dothraki or an Unsullied guy. They kept not an Unsullied, but a wildling with the long
with big hair. Yeah,
that they kept showing. Like we're supposed to know his name, but I didn't. I'm sorry. You. I'm sure you were a great character. I'm sorry. But Ed. Then we get Lyanna, Beric, Jorah,
Theon,
Melisandre,
and then of course Night King and Viserion.
Night King and Viserion. So 8 named characters in the show die in this episode. We think Ghost is okay, even though there's nothing in the show to believe that. Everybody else is alive. All the main characters survived. So it was quite an emotional thing, but very good. One of the greatest things that's ever been on TV. That you should look up the stats of this. It's just a spectacle.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly, it was a spectacle. But typically, Explodo, what I call Explodo, is not a good story. This was a carefully written narrative. Through that battle.
And I was honestly a little worried when I heard that one of the episodes this year was going to be, the biggest battle scene or the longest battle scene. That doesn't make me happy, typically. I'm like, oh, great. It's going to be a whole episode that's going to bore me, and I'm not going to understand what's going on. Because a lot of it, I don't know who's fighting. It's just a mass of people, and so it's hard to tell. And it was dark, but they did it well with making sure you could pay attention to what you needed to pay attention. And I particularly was happy, and this is going to sound weird, but when Ed died, because they slowed it down to show you that he died. And I thought, okay, if someone dies, they're not going to have it be a throwaway. They're going to show me. And I was glad
which is credence to Ghost being alive. That they showed us
Ed, who
all the deaths.
I had completely forgotten about till last week. They're gonna show us. If it's important, they're gonna make sure you pay attention to it. The rest of it, it's fine. It's fighting, but they're gonna make sure you notice and you pay attention to the important stuff. And I appreciate that in something like this when there's so much going on screen.
So before and after, I think we're both very surprised at the way the episode went. We were very confident of what we thought was gonna happen. And a lot of it did, but a lot of it did not.
Yeah, the most shocking thing.
Completely stunned.
Arya killed the Night King. What?
And I'm also completely stunned that Brienne and Jaime are both alive.
I know, especially Brienne.
I was confident Brienne was going to die.
Yeah,
and I was
others.
more than confident the Grey Worm was going to die.
Yes.
So it's great that they didn't.
Yeah.
And now, but at the same time, if we knew they were going to resolve the Night King. And now it goes back to armies. You need your soldiers.
That's true.
Because your armies are all dead.
Yeah.
They all died. So going forward, it does look like, unfortunately, we're heading toward probably a 3-way clash between King's Landing group, between Daenerys' group, and between the North. That's, and whether that's Jon with Arya, Sansa, Tormund on that side, Davos maybe, versus, Grey Worm. I don't know, but it does seem like we're going to have a three-way competition for the throne. What we don't know is how this battle will affect people. But pretty late in that episode, Sansa was still doesn't care about Daenerys very much.
Yeah.
So I don't know where it goes from here. Really, with 3 episodes left, I think you think that there's going to be kind of a come down and some emotion this week.
I certainly hope. I hope the next episode is not straight to battle again. I hope it's more like the prior episode was, where you can just have a talky episode. Have everybody talk, regroup. I would like some emotion. I would like there to be emotion.
We're going to spend a lot of time at King's Landing because we have not seen Cersei in 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So we're going to spend a lot of time at King's Landing.
That's true.
It would not, now, because this has happened, it would not surprise me if they dealt with Cersei quickly. I don't think the final scene of the show is Cersei versus Dany for the Iron Throne. I don't think that's what it is. I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's that.
Well, and there's a possibility that everything's resolved in 2 episodes, and the last episode is more of a what comes next.
An epilogue.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
So who knows?
So anyway, I enjoyed the episode very much.
Mm-hmm.
We've enjoyed doing this for 2 very huge events this weekend. Endgame and what this was called The Long Night ended up being the episode title. And I encourage you to dig into the behind the scenes. Go to The Ringer, listen to podcasts. There's a lot of great information. I did a daily dub on monoculture in scripted TV and movies, and this is there's just a few more weeks to take a part of this and be a part of the story. The internet was wonderful when Arya killed the Night King. I mean, I believe world leaders tweeted about Arya. Like, I saw, what's her name, Mariska Hargitay? Just tweeted Arya Stark. Like the woman that's been Law and Order SVU for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Just Arya Stark. Like that's
enough said. I mean,
it is. So Daenerys has been for a while now my favorite character in all of everything. I want to consume this like I'm reading it as a book, and because I'm only halfway, kind of a little bit more than halfway through the book series. If all of this had happened in the book, I think I would have pivoted and Arya would have become my favorite character ever. And I'm not sure that hasn't happened. Like, she was unbelievable in this.
She was unbelievable before she killed the Night King. She was unbelievable in her, first scene. And there was a good 2 or 3 Arya fighting scenes before the Night King. And she was unbelievable in the very
remember,
first
this is the first time she's been in battle. She's been a stealth assassin.
Yes.
That's different than this.
And she didn't use a face. She didn't use somebody else's body or magic. She was just Arya.
And if you're deep into the mythology, like I am, makes you wonder, Prince that was promised, Azor Ahai, is that going to be Arya? Things are different here because all of that prophecy was around the Long Night and the Night King and Lightbringer and all these different things. Maybe something's different, or maybe it just won't matter. It's possible because sometimes in fantasy literature, some of that stuff doesn't happen. The prophecy was wrong.
Right.
That is a thing that happens in fantasy literature. I am incredibly curious. So we've heard that George Martin said they're going to tell the same basic story for the high points. I want to know if Arya kills the Night King in the books.
Yeah.
I will be intently waiting for the books to know if this is the way that goes down, or if they changed it for whatever reason.
Right.
But anyway, any final thoughts for the good people?
No. It was a great episode, and Arya has been a character I've liked very much the whole time. And I thought that Maisie Williams is an incredible actress. Great. She was nominated for an Emmy last year, right?
Last year, yep.
And she was so young to be nominated, and she's had to do so much of her acting on the show away from everybody else, whereas everyone else gets to act.
On the show. It's our only role.
Yeah, everyone else gets to act with each other, and they're also great, but she's had to act kind of with her own group of people, and she's just done phenomenally. And everything tonight just has strengthened that even more. So, yay, go on.
Well, and the dagger that she uses is a dagger that's followed. It has been Chekhov's dagger. I guess Chekhov's White Walkers Can't Swim didn't come true. But it was Chekhov's dagger that has been over and over and over again
Yeah.
from the very beginning of the show
Yeah.
through the early stuff with Bran and Ned Stark and Tyrion, and then Doofus Face had it
Baelish.
forever. Baelish had it.
Yeah.
So, and Bran gave it to Arya. I mean, that's the dagger she used to kill Littlefinger. So that was very cool too.
Yeah.
So
That's
anyway, we'll talk to you next time there's a thing to do, which will probably be the finale of Game of Thrones. We'll do this again. I don't know if there's a movie coming before then that we'll do it for, but we'll definitely do it for the finale. That one's going to be rough, I believe, because it'll just be the end.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching.
Squeeze it.
Ooh.